Welcome to the MaxBet Podcast, a podcast dedicated to everything gaming. I'm Landon Jones, here with Mike McKiskey. Let's get started. Microphone check 2 1 2. I got Mikey in the house. What you gonna do? What's up, dog?
Not much, brother. I'm just hanging out, man. It's a beautiful summer 1 million degree day, so feeling good about it.
And I have a sweater on.
I was just wondering, like, I don't know if you had a sunburn and it's one of those things where you're getting the chills or something.
Stay humble and hustle hard.
Life advice. That's my motto.
It's a good motto.
Remember my credo, Timmy. Don't be a fool. Stay in school. Dude, so I got to ask you. So
a lot going on.
That's a statement to be made. So
I'll tell you that for free.
I'll tell you that for free. Okay, so you did something I don't think very many people did recently.
I do a lot of things that not very many people do.
Some are good, some are not so good. This one's a good one. So cool. I don't know what made you do it, but prior to the latest PGA event where Phil Mickelson took it down,
right?
You were in the casino and you just said, I'm throwing $100 on Mickelson to win. Prior to the tourney, he was a plus $8,300 favorite. So, or not even favorite. He was obviously not favorite if he's plus 8,300 in terms of that. So for non-sports bettors, if you bet 100 at plus 8,300, you win $8,300.
Correct.
You took the bet. It paid off. How you feeling?
I feel like I won.
Yeah, I mean, I know. But like, what the hell possessed you to do that? Like, I can't imagine anybody in the world was like, yeah, Phil, this is his weekend.
You know, it's funny story.
Okay. God, I love funny stories.
So I was coming off our Paula trip.
Yeah.
With the $4,000 win.
Yeah, the old video poker.
And I normally don't go to casinos by myself because why would you, right? Unless I'm with a bunch of people. And our good buddy, friend of the show. I like saying that. Robert Perry asked me to go place some bets before the tournament had started.
Yeah.
I think it was day of, and he asked me to take, I don't remember his lineup, but he wanted
like the Mississippi boys, usually Sneds and whoever else.
Yeah, he wanted 5 players, and I think I was like, I don't want to,
Yeah, it's okay. 5 random guys.
Yeah. At X amount of dollars, he wanted 5 players, and he's like, I don't know if I can bet or place a bet before it started. And so, I was working that day. The day got ahead of me. And I just walked down to Circa because it's just in my backyard.
Beautiful one right there,
and I had some of that cash from the $4,000 jackpot. I was like, I'll play Lightning Link. Lost a good portion of the winnings
some of it back.
that I made off of video poker. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I got to just keep enough so I can go put Robert's bets
like a bet for RP.
Yeah, because he's going to Venmo me, but I had the cash. I didn't want to go to an ATM. And so I think I went down with 2. And then, by the end of that, I had, enough to place Robert's bet and a couple $100. And so I went down to the book and I'm looking at all his picks that he picked, and they all sucked.
Yeah, well, he likes to bet guys he knows. So these are like Mississippi guys.
But you have to remember the first day had already taken place.
Sure, okay.
So where the players that he wanted to place bets on, they were way down the list.
Like out or something.
Yeah,
got it.
And RP lives on the East Coast, so by that time it was probably 9:30, and I didn't feel comfortable putting the bets in because his players were so far down.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll just put one in for myself. And I'm looking at the list, and on day 1, Phil Mickelson was -1, which is still like a huge swing.
Sure.
A lot can happen.
Well, you still got plus 8,300. So clearly no one thought he was going to win.
Right. We still have 3 days, and he hasn't won a major championship since 2005. Don't quote me, YouTube or all our haters out there.
Roundabout, yeah.
It was like 2005. But it's been a while since Phil. So, his odds are huge. So funny enough, I took Koepka.
And Phil.
So
you were going to win either way.
So coming into day 3, Koepka and Phil were the top and paid 83 to 1, and it came in and
did you
ping pong, a big winner.
Did you bet those for RP as well? Or you just bet nothing for him and took both winners for you?
Honest to God, I did. I wanted to text RP that day and say, I'll give you half, but as Phil was playing on dollars, sorry RP, but
no, this is my money.
Had to buy this new sweater.
Had to get the humble hard
stay
hustle
humble,
buddy.
hustle hard.
That's it.
So that was my program, but you've been pretty busy too, my friend.
Have I?
Well, because I text you tell me this weekend. And you're like, no response. I'm like, what are you doing? And you're like, oh, I'm just remodeling my downstairs bathroom. Tim the Toolman Taylor
Back
over here.
to the projects. Yeah, you're like, can you help me move a table? I'm like, I can. I'm
moving a bathroom.
I'm neck deep in my bathroom. Yeah, yeah, it was weird. It's just one of those things. We moved in, 18 months ago, and it's been looking at. It wasn't bad. It had like some old school wallpaper. So it wasn't like you're going to be embarrassed by it, but you're going, this ain't our style.
This is the downstairs bathroom in the garage?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Yep, you know the one. So
Yep.
all that wallpaper came off and just blew up the whole thing. And bought a new vanity, new toaster, put all that in, and did everything but the floor, basically. So I'm not quite done. I still have to finish like the finishing touches, molding, etc. But yeah, man. So full Tim, full Tim the Toolman Taylor mode. Just I do that a lot though. I'll walk. It's like nothing feel. I mean, you're using your circular saw in the garage. You're dripping sweat. You got a beer going. Like you feel like it's primal instinct, baby. You're getting after it. So.
I remodeled my bathroom once, and that was a huge mistake.
Yeah, did you?
But I did some pretty the tiling and stuff.
Yeah.
And
tiling sucks.
Did it to save money, and ended up costing twice as much as it would have cost if I paid someone to do it.
Oh man, that's no doubt.
Speaking of wood and design and building.
Well done, sir.
You like that?
I do. You're tapping on a new table
that my friend from San Diego
buddy
built.
in San Diego built. That has probably been one of the most texted and talked about things, because I weirdly did not expect how many people were excited for, I'm pulling up his page now, for you to reveal the name. Because we're hyping the table, then you're like, it was built by, and everyone's apparently on the edge of their seat, and then you go, my buddy in San Diego.
I had a brain fart, and I had to play it right out.
I know, but I got so many people texting me going, who's the buddy? I'm interested in buying a table. I need woodwork done. What's going on? And sure enough, you didn't have it. So we have it now. So
wouldn't you know?
Charlie is his name, which we already talked about, but you can find him. It's called Rustic Movement. So if you're on Instagram, I think that's his main way to do it. It's rustic, like you'd think, RUSTIC, and then it's _ MVMT. So not movement, the whole word, just MVMT. Right. And if you follow MaxBet, we're followers of them, so you can kind of sort it that way. But it's pretty fascinating. So yeah, he made us this great table, this nice resin river going through it. It's pretty cool, man. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, and if you want to get a table from Charlie, reach out to us. We'll hook you guys up. And we actually picked this slab of wood. Yeah. So he can, there's thousands of pieces of wood you can choose from, whether it's redwood, oak, spotted maple,
which is this. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, he does awesome work, and he also makes cutting boards. You have a cutting board.
I do, yeah, sweet. I use it all the
time. So yeah, we appreciate you, Charlie. Thank you for making this beautiful MaxBet media table. This will be with us for a while.
That's hopefully. This is where it all starts, where we keep this, where the magic happens, right here at the table.
Imagine the stories that this old piece of wood could tell.
Right now, not many.
A lot of windy, rainy days.
Yeah, a lot of, Oh, I mean, when it was a tree. I see,
exactly.
Yeah. It's like the old meditation. Now you're a tree. What a joke. Speaking of cool things.
A lot of cool things. Something I thought was interesting. So our friends at EKG, Eilers and Kraychek, so they just released this new kind of program. So it's the game theme attributes and rankings, right? Yep. So what's interesting about that, so we all know their top performers. You say, hey, this quarter, the new game, the hot games are X, Y, and Z, right? You figure them out. Well, now what they've expanded is to include attributes for those games. So you say, okay, like for example, we have, you have Captain's Riches at the top, right? Or you have Buffalo Link is blowing up. You go, well, what does that mean? Like, what do those games do? Persistent style.
Yeah, it'll tell you I'm just pulling it up here, right? So I have the email from Brendan, and it says, hey, what's the max bet, kind of your normal max bet, right? And it says, well, like for example, there's a game here from Every called Power Shot Freedom. I'll just pick them. So it tells you, well, it's on the Empire Flex. It's in a penny. $4.95 is your average bet there. 40 lines, five level jackpot. Here's what it's doing.
Does it talk about multi-denom?
Good question. I don't believe so. If it does, I don't see it yet.
Didn't mean to throw you off there.
No, it's
just
okay.
An interesting. We had that conversation with them. So
if you know what you do there, if you want to find out, you email Brendan. He's going to take care of you.
He's just going to get inundated with emails.
It's the easiest email in the world. So we all know ekgamingllc.com as the website. So the Brendan Moore is his name. He seems to be the master of this particular platform.
Data sets.
Be more at EK Gaming LLC. How easy is that? Be more.
Be more.
2 O's, BMOORE. But if you want to know more about it, if you're interested in kind of looking at this type of data for your operation, ping those guys and check it out. But it's really cool. It's nice to now be able to say, how do those compare? So it's like, that game beat that game. But if that game's betting $8.80 max and our game's $4, well, of course they're doing better because it's 2x, right? So now you can kind of start making a little more apples to apples.
I also want to mention, and we've mentioned it in a few other episodes, but in case you haven't, caught up or you're listening to this one and you haven't listened to another one, I'm finding it fascinating, and more people are having the same conversations with me as I'm going out and talking to some of my customers. But which sports betting platform is right for your property? And it seems to me like so many operators are lost while trying to pick a sports betting platform, because as we say, it's not just about the sports betting platform. It's about the scalability going forward, whether it has an attached iGaming piece to it. And every market is so different, you guys. So if you're looking at which sports betting platform is right for your business, the sports betting companies are going to hate me, but don't go directly to them. Go to someone that's looking at this data and analyzing and breaking down the different advantages between the different sports betting platforms. And it really is advantageous for you to reach out to EKG and they know it all. So, and they're not in bed with any certain company. So
no doubt. Well, I laugh because Chris Grove manages that, right? So we jumped on a conference call with him just to chat, and we start asking questions because we don't know. I mean, I know something about sports, but I don't know every platform. And we said, well, what about this? And he's like, well, don't do that. And he just was like rattling it off. So it's like, man, if I was looking to say, that's the guy I'd want to get on the phone and go, hey, just teach me for 30 minutes what I should be looking for, maybe pros and cons. And he may even be able to say, these are your 3 options to maybe go explore from a product perspective, but he's no horse in the race. So it's good to.
Should we put EKG on blast right now and say that they need to have a MaxBet media code to save a little discount?
A little MaxBet 20, a little discount.
You went to 20. I was going to go to 10.
Oh, come on.
Maybe you settle at 15.
These are for our people here, bud. We got to do it.
We're going to get a text from Adam and Todd.
No, you just gave away the store. Sorry, boys. Anyway.
I am really excited for our guest today.
A legend.
Seriously, a legend. I mean, we talk to game developers that are legends, operators that are legends, but we wouldn't be where we are today technologically without this man, John Akers. So John is joining us, and we are going to be digging in deep with how he got into systems and everything that he's played in and over his.
Well, he invented a lot of it. That's what's so crazy. You go back to the beginning of it and you're like, we were looking it up. It's like over 200 patents that he has. It's different companies over his life, but like
Micon Gaming.
He invented a lot of the stuff. So you're going, man, this will be so much fun to just chat with. So
first progressive system. I can't wait to talk to him about that.
No doubt. Yeah. So we'll bring him in just a second. But before we do that, just anybody out there listening, if you're liking what you're hearing, please subscribe to either YouTube or the podcast platform that you prefer. And if you want to float us a like or a 5-star review, we'd appreciate that. Everything helps there. So easy ways to help us out if you don't mind. So
we appreciate any love from the MaxBet team.
Let's bring in Mr. Akers.
Let's do it, baby.
So John, welcome to the studios, man. It's exciting to have you with us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
You might not know this or appreciate it, but you are the first guest on our new table. So we had this table made with the black resin and the spotted maple, and we just moved it in here. So
my buddy in San Diego made
his buddy in San Diego, Charlie, made the table. So we're weirdly excited about that. So
it looks great, and I will remember not to put my gum beneath it. So.
Yeah, please do not. Yeah. Well, Landon's dog will just be up underneath licking off the gum.
But I am carving my initials here. So.
Yeah, that's it. Well, J.A. So,
like the bathroom stall. Yeah. Call this number for a good time.
That's it.
That's hilarious.
Man. Well, just curious, man. How's it feel to be you? I feel like when you're John Akers, like everybody knows who you are. Like we don't even have to intro you. We're gonna, but we did already. But how's that feel? It's got to be pretty good. You've invented half the tech in the biz.
I don't think that's quite true. We've contributed some things, and it feels. I mean, I've had a great life, met a lot of good people, and been able to contribute here and there and help out. I've had a lot of fun.
Yeah, interesting. So, where are you from? Like, where are you from originally? How'd you get into gaming? Like, what's that story?
I'm originally from Elwood, Indiana.
Okay,
and I grew up there. Graduated from high school when I was 16. Went to college, didn't fit in really well with 19-year-olds, and then. The next year, I dropped out for a year, and then back then it was Vietnam. Oh, and so my draft number was pretty high, meaning I was likely to get called.
To go. Yeah. Geez.
And it turns out that if you join voluntarily, you can kind of pick what you do. So I took a test in the Air Force and electronics test and joined and got a high enough score that I could pick what I wanted to do. And they put me in flight simulators. So I went to down to basic training in Texas and then up to Illinois, finished a 9-month school in 2 months because I already knew a lot about it. And my wife, my then-to-be wife, graduated from high school in early June of 72. We got married a week after and drove to Las Vegas because that's where I was stationed here at Nellis.
No way.
Wow. And the rest is history. And we're done.
We haven't learned anything.
Long story short, now we have player tracking. So it's that's amazing.
That's about right. You know,
that's wild.
We got here and I was making, I can't remember if it was $382 or $386 a month.
Wow.
And
that's amazing.
What's that inflation, you think?
It'd probably be like
$1,000?
$1,200, $1,300 a month now, something like that. But it wasn't enough. And we went and looked at housing and realized that there was nothing that we could afford. So she went to work at Penny's selling shoes. And I got a job fixing radios and things at an electronics store. And a guy from a casino came in with his radio that he hadn't been able to get fixed. I fixed it for him. And he said, why don't you come down to the casino and look at our sound system? And I did that and fixed that. And he says, why don't you look at our slot machines? And that's what I've been doing ever since.
That's interesting.
What? Yeah. That's the good old boys days. It's like, hey, come to my casino. You fix that slot machine, I'll give you $1,000.
Swing by the dunes, straighten us out. No big deal.
The cool thing was that I was 18 and 19 then, and so it was too young to legally work at the casino.
Right.
And I honestly didn't know any better. Yeah. But I got paid out of the slot machines every week. Back then they had hoppers.
Yeah.
And so they had coins in these things, and motors would turn on and kick out the coins to the players. So on every Sunday night, we'd go through and open up the machines, and he would look inside. If there were a lot of coins in there, he'd pull out some. And up until I got
like trick or treat bags. I want the $2 machine.
The plastic bucket. Here's my take for the day.
And I got to where I was making $300 a week there, and 386 or 382.
That's a big jump.
Yeah,
big
4x.
Big help. Yeah. And so I got paid in quarters and silver dollars, and take them over to the cage and turn it into money, and that was that.
Oh my god,
that is fascinating. It was pretty
cool. While it lasted.
That machine behind you actually has a hopper in it, an old hopper feeder.
Oh, that's a CRT too.
Yeah, it's got an old hopper feeder. The hoppers are crazy, but that's a wild story. It's like, hey, here's your take for the day, as much as he can grab you.
Fistful of quarters is a whole new meeting. That's it. Oh man.
Well, it wasn't exactly the Clint Eastwood movie, but
no, fair enough. But like, hey, you do what you can, right? Yeah. That's wild. So how long after just looking at those things and trying to figure that out did you think like, I want to start doing something different, like start inventing in the space of casino?
Well, it just started by this guy I worked for, Norman Little. He would always challenge me to say, could you make something that did this? Could you make something that did that? And sometimes it could, sometimes it couldn't. And he started explaining why. And the thing he explained to me was that you think of a slot machine as the interface between two worlds. On the front side, it's all about the player fun, the player enjoyment. The player's never going to win more money than they lose. I should say almost never. But they have to go away feeling like they're a winner.
Right.
On the back side, it's all about profit and loss.
Right.
And so you always have to think about both sides. You can't think about them simultaneously. You have to think about them separately. You got to think about the player experience without worry about profit. Then you got to think about how you're going to modify that to be profitable.
That is wild.
And that's always been the challenge for me.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating because like just hearing you say that, can you do this? Can you do that? It reminds me of we've had like Matt Wilson was on and he goes, it's just about what problem are you going to solve? That's right. It. So it's not just, hey, this is cool. It's like, well, this is an issue and I've now created a thing to fix it. Right. So
it always is. And one of the sad parts that I see about the industry now is back then it was very small. There were no big corporations in there. The casinos were individually owned. And those owners would bet on the person. Right. Like I'd go see Steve Wynn or Jack Binion, Andy Tompkins, tell them what you want, and walk out with a deposit check. Yeah, and go to work. There was never anything more than a handshake.
They just like fund your company from just a quick conversation. They're like, how much you think you need? You're like, I need a couple thousand. They're like, here's your check. Go knock it out from it.
I remember one of the most memorable people is Steve Wynn, and I did a big project for him to put progressive jackpot systems. This was, I started in 72. This is now we're in 81, but he asked me, how I could build him a progressive system similar to what I just put into the Aladdin. And I told him a number, and he says, okay, how much do you need to start? I need 50%.
Yeah.
And that worked out to be about $30,000. And so he gets a check like in 5 minutes, and he's right there with the check. And he says, look, he says, you can do one of two things with this. He says, you can take this check and you can disappear. And if you do, you're never going to get another piece of work in this town again. Or you can take this check and you can build me what you say you're going to build me, and you're just going to go on and have a great business.
Yeah.
And he says, choice is up to you.
Was that pressure? Yeah, like, do you have pressure? Is there pressure on your...
Well, but it was fair pressure, right?
Yeah.
You're taking somebody's money.
You sure?
Right.
And you realize early on that when I take your money, that I've got an obligation to you. You know, an early story of failure for me, or almost failure, was about a year later. I was doing a progressive system, a brand new version. I'm sorry, it was even before Steve went. It was a year earlier. Went down to the Aladdin and knew a guy there, and he hired me to put my very first progressive jackpot system in. I had never built it before, but he liked the idea. And he says, look, I need it in by this date. And I really hadn't done any project planning. I was just excited to get the job.
Just cranking through it, yeah.
So the date comes, and I'm not ready. I mean, I'm nowhere near ready.
Wow.
And I got the hardware kind of built. I'd hired a person to do wiring for me. She got sick, so I had to do the wiring, and I hadn't written all the code yet. So the guy's name was Ray Silvestri, and he says, he calls me and he says, look, you guys are supposed to be here. What's going on? So I put what I have in the car. I drive over to the Aladdin. I go in, and I start working. It's early Friday afternoon now.
Yeah.
And it gets to be 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and Ray comes by, and he's pretty
hot.
upset.
Yeah.
Pretty upset. He goes, what's going on? You know, I thought this was going to be done. And I said, yeah. So I went back to work, and then I left and went out to get something to eat and came back, and he came over about 9 o'clock that night, and he says, look, he says, it's clear to me that you either lied to me or that you're in over your head. He says, but you are here working. He says, so I'm going to make you a deal. You can keep trying as long as you want, but as soon as you leave this building one more time, this deal is over and I want my money back.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
And that was like 9 o'clock on a Friday night.
After you've been there for like 24 hours.
Yeah, well, I hadn't been there 20, I've been 12. There probably 12. Yeah.
Right.
And I said, okay. So my first thought was I just pack up my stuff and go home. Yeah. Then I start thinking, like, you know, if I do this, I let this guy down. I have to give back the deposit, already spent the deposit. Yeah. What am I going to do? Yeah. So then I figured, you know what? There's that old saying, either succeed or die trying. So let's go with that. I went over to the payphone because there were no cell phones or anything. Sure. Called my wife and say, I don't know when I'll be home, but I'll do my best. And it was, let's see, that was Friday night, Saturday. It was Monday evening when I left.
Oh, okay. So I got to back up on this. So
go for it.
Is obviously you don't have like GLI certifications at this time.
Oh,
right?
no.
So,
there was nothing.
So you're working, I'm assuming it would be an IGT machine.
A bank of IGT machines. Okay. There were 12 IGT machines connected to a single progressive.
So this is like a Micon day, like where they were.
Well, before Micon. Oh, before Micon.
Whoa,
he invented it, bro.
Yeah, Micon was my second company.
Yeah, this is wild.
There's no product you can reference because he just made the product that you're going to think about right there on the floor. 4 days of just. Did you even sleep, or you're just right there?
Sleep.
There's no sleep. He sees you napping. He's kicking
I'm there
you
in the middle of a slot bank. The 12 machines around me are turned off, which they're very upset about, and rightfully so. They're not
no quarters getting in the hopper.
The casino is jammed on a Friday night, Saturday night, and not so jammed on a Sunday night. It's kind of quiet on a Sunday night. And you just get into a zone to where you realize you don't know if you're going to succeed. It's just one foot in front of the other until you either drop or you succeed.
Or you win. Yeah.
And I got it done. And Ray came in that afternoon, and I went home, and he left a message for me to come back, and went back to see him. And he says, listen, he says, what you did was inexcusable. He said, you promised me a date and you didn't deliver.
Oh my God.
He says, but he said, you did show a lot of gumption to hang around for 4 days and get it done.
Yeah, right.
He says, I'll give you that. He says, but you got to fix that. You got to find a way to let people know what you can and can't do, because we rely on it. We lost 2 days of income from those 12 machines, and he paid me, and we were friends, and all went well. But it was a great lesson. It was an incredible lesson of responsibility and commitment and being upright with your dates.
Oh my gosh. Question. So did they give you a hotel room or were you like
No, I was,
sleeping in between?
there was no sleeping. There was no sleeping. I was in this, there was a circle with 12 slot machines around it. I was in the middle of that bank the whole time, except to go to the bathroom.
For like 72 hours.
Oh, it's closer to 90.
Yeah, geez.
Closer to 90. And you know, the first 48 were really tough. The rest, you just kind of drift.
I will never say I have a lot to do and I've just worked really hard on a project until I go 90 hours, no sleep. I love this.
Yeah.
It's not something I would want to do every day, but it was, you know, in the scheme of things, it was probably one of the best lessons of my life.
This is awesome. These are the stories that people need to hear, right? This is, and now it's created an entire way of life. I mean,
what I was going to ask you. So that's, so is that invention one? Or, I mean, I know that it sounds like over time it's about 200 total patents you hold. Or
that was first invention. So what I put in was a progressive jackpot system. There had been progressive jackpot systems before where you count the money that goes into a bunch of machines and you add a percentage of it to a common pool and one lucky player gets it all. The original progressive jackpot systems, the one that the town had before, were built on half sheets of plywood. I came along, I got my degree in math part-time, you know, while I was working. And I had some of the early experience with microprocessors. So I proposed using a microprocessor, just that I hadn't written the code. But
yeah, nice.
So that became that one progressive jackpot system then that took some effort to get it done, then became the model. And we sold one to Andy Tompkins down at Lady Luck. And then Steve Wynn came along and on and on and on.
Oh my gosh.
Fascinating. So obviously that sounds like maybe the most memorable because it's first, but what are some of the other like more memorable, like I said, I think you hold whether it's this company or just in your life over 200 patents, like.
Well, the thing that we saw, then Steve Wynn hired me to make ticket spitters, he called them.
Yeah. Is this like Beto? This is original bill in, ticket out?
No, that's Tito. Ticket in, ticket out.
Yeah, but wasn't Beto before Tito?
I've never heard the term Beto before.
Landon made it up.
No, I didn't actually.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
I've never heard it.
It used to be, it didn't click a ticket out for you, right? You would put a bill in, but it wouldn't kick a ticket out. So it was called Beto.
Okay.
This was before that. Was next. Okay.
Way before that. So
interesting.
What he did, he wanted to know how much people were spending in the slot machines because for tables, they'd have somebody that estimated how much you spent.
Yeah,
with slots, you have no idea. Somebody disappears into the corner. They play this machine. They play that machine. How do you know how much they're really spending? And so his idea, he took it out of an arcade. And if you've been to a Chuck E. Cheese's lately, or Dave and Buster's, these little orange or yellow tickets that come out. We built ticket dispensers, motorized elements that would turn on and dispense one ticket for every $50 that somebody wagered.
Interesting.
And so we put these ticket printers or ticket dispensers on the side of all the dollar machines down there, and players would get streams of tickets accumulated.
And that was
hundreds
Theo,
and hundreds
right?
of tickets.
$50 Theo.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, not Theo. That's $50 of spend of wagers.
Okay. So
now you're going to hold about 5-8% of that.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
But that was based on actual spend. And you go up to people and say, "Can I take your tickets for you and store them?" And they'd say, "No, don't do that. People won't know how good a slot player I am."
Interesting.
And then you start to realize at that point how important symbolism is to players and how important those emotional feelings are, that it's not about dollars and cents, it's emotion.
Yeah. So that's like the early days of the multi-tier players club. So if you had a stream of these tickets coming out of the side of your game, you are now a platinum player, right? Or that's essentially
it. Yeah. So then what happened was we started selling ticket dispensers everywhere. And even so far as I went over to Bophuthatswana, South Africa, to sell ticket dispensers there. And when I went to the casino and went to check in, they didn't give me a room key. They gave me a card. And I'd never seen that before. This is like 1982. And I was like, what do I do with this card? And they said, you slide it in the door and your door opens. And, and so I did that. And they weren't mag stripe cards. And they were Hollerith cards, had holes.
Yeah.
And so slid in my card, the door opened, it worked great. Loved it so much, I kept the card when I left. Put it in my briefcase. Everybody had briefcases and nobody had backpacks.
Yeah. Sure, right. Yeah.
But I went home. I got home on Christmas Eve, and my wife was putting out Christmas presents for the kids.
Yeah.
Noah and James and those guys. And she'd gotten one of the kids a Texas Instruments Speak and Spell.
Okay.
And she brought it over. She says, "Can you put the batteries in this?" Because I was working on stuff. And I said, "Yeah." So I put the batteries in. It lit up. It had just this beautiful greenish blue display.
Sure.
That was like the first color LCD.
Well, it wasn't colors, just a single color, just a blue-green color.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've seen it on stoves and microwaves and everywhere like that. But at the time, it was like, holy cow, because I was selling these little tiny LED displays that weren't as good looking, and we were selling those for $500 a piece. And this Texas Instruments thing retailed for $50. It was like, how can they do this?
Wow.
So I opened it up. And
the kid's like, "Hey, you're supposed to just put batteries." You just took
It was my Christmas present.
The kids never saw it. So, and took it apart to say, how did they do this?
Yeah.
Now, I found it and started looking at it. Then I started looking back at all of my notes and everything of what had happened in the 10 days I've been gone. And you don't have voicemail then. It was just little yellow or orange notepads
Stickies and whatnot,
and letters from people. And I had a letter there from Harris saying they were having a problem with their ticket dispensers.
Yeah, right.
That they had not bought from me. They had bought it from somebody else at a lower price. And this person who designed it failed to think about static electricity. So the first day they installed, I think they installed about 80 of them. And somebody walked across the carpet in mid-December, touched the ticket dispenser, static electricity shot out, and the motor turned on and all the tickets come running out.
I'm rich.
So
I get every room ever.
So pretty soon everybody's shuffling across the carpet, touching them, and they had to shut them down.
Right.
Interesting.
And so, I'm sitting there, I've got my room key card.
Yeah.
I've got this Texas Instruments display. I've got these notes where people were getting frustrated about how often they had to refill the tickets, and you don't know who's played what until they redeem them. But as long as they hold them, you don't know who did what.
Right.
And I've got this problem over at Harris, and I just thought, what if we do this electronically? What if we put a card reader on every machine and put one of these displays on and measure points electronically? And that's where the player tracking came from. So we built the first ones for Harris, literally taking that same card and card reader, and the very same manufactured displays came out of the Texas.
So it had the punched holes?
Yes. Yeah, it was all Hollerith cards for 7 or 8 years until the mag stripe readers got cheap enough and reliable enough that they could be used on the casino floor.
So thank goodness for South African hotels and the Speak and Spell. Like, that is wild. Putting those two things together just changed the whole world.
So that's amazing. And we could probably talk about that for the whole podcast. I do want to hear your experience on, we'll go back to Tito, and when the industry decided to make that shift into Tito, it was a huge, there was a lot of controversy whether or not players wanted to touch the coins.
Well, that wasn't a shift to Tito. So there was a shift in between where we went from coins to bills.
Right.
Bills in, coins out.
Right. Okay.
And that was the huge controversy. Do players need to feel those coins going in? Do they love the feel of the handle? And all the game designers really focused on that. And they were probably right for that generation of players. Because the thing that we fail to remember a lot of times is that human nature never changes, but human expectations do, or consumer expectations do. So you go from, like, my dad, who his idea of security growing up in the Depression was money underneath the mattress, money in a coffee can at home, something like that. I was perfectly happy to put it in the bank, but I needed to see it, and I always carried a lot of money around with me. Sure. And my kids, my grandkids especially, they don't even want to touch that green paper. They just want to see these electronic credits, right? That whatever gives you security, whatever makes you feel like it's really there is what you require. And so in those times, the mechanical feel of everything was very important. Now, as we moved along, the only thing there were several companies. Sigma Gaming was the first one that did bill acceptors on slot machines, and they sold a few. And it just wasn't getting much traction because the casinos go, oh man, this is just a disruption to how we do business, and players love to hold the coins. I look at it like they're the antibodies trying to reject new ideas. There's all these things floating around.
Happening today.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's just part of human nature. Yeah. This is the way I did it yesterday. This is the way I want to do it tomorrow.
Right.
And we all do that in some aspects of our lives. Right. And so they're going, I don't want this. Well, the thing that really triggered it was riverboats. And riverboats, even though they're permanently docked, the first ones still have to be registered as a certified ship. So when they start rolling around these coin carts, that weight shift was enough to cause a lot of trouble in the design of the boats.
You never think about that. Just like, I don't know how much, I mean like a coin cart. So how many dollars in quarters or silver dollars? Like, I guess it's like 1,000. I mean, I don't know, thousands of pounds, or you never think about that. You never think about how heavy money is.
It's a lot of weight.
One hopper was like 50 pounds with those dollar bags. I used to carry them for the cruise ships.
It was a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And so the cruise ships, they were the first ones to have reason to try bill acceptors.
Interesting.
And when they put the bill acceptors on, they had a bill acceptor and a ticket printer, and a coin acceptor. So a player could do either. All of a sudden, like 90% of their money was coming in as bills. And Steve Wynn, not being a stupid guy, saw that, and he put bill acceptors in. And IGT said, hey, let's just start building them into our machines. They would not allow a retrofit of their game. They put extra security in, but they created what we call a replacement cycle. Where a casino has to get rid of all the equipment they got and install all new. And the first replacement cycle was driven by the shift from coins to bills.
What was that called where IGT, we had to pay for the service tag?
Yeah, that was the Tito license.
Technology behind the Tito license.
That came next. So now we've got bills going in and we got coins coming out. Well, the casinos still have to hold coins and they got to stock them, and players hate it because, you got $500 coming. Who wants $500 for the coins?
Exactly.
And it doesn't fit in the hopper, and then you got to wait for somebody to bring it. So IGT went over to Bally and somebody else, I forget who, some individuals, and they created a patent pool. To allow what became Tito, ticket in, ticket out. Now, ticket in, ticket out also allowed bills in. And I think when you say Beto, or you're talking about back east, where in a lot of places they had a bill in, then you could take a ticket out.
Right, but you couldn't put the ticket back in.
But you couldn't put the ticket back in. Right. So they made it so that you could put a bill in, you could cash out anytime you want with a ticket, and then you could insert that ticket in the next machine.
You got to go to cash desk if in the east, right?
In IGT's Tito, you did, in the Beto stuff, as you call it, that you did, but in the Tito, you could just move that ticket right over to the next machine and put it in the bill validator.
That was always so frustrating, IGT, when we would go sell a slot machine and you're like, the price is $17,000. Oh, but we have to add $2,500 on because IGT is the king.
Absolutely.
At the time.
And they made over $1 billion on those patents.
It's wild.
They collect. So every machine they sold, I think it was actually a $1,200 license fee. But if you had 2,000 machines and you'd pay $1,200 a piece and you buy a new one, you got to have a new license. You can't transfer it.
And you were right in that mix. So you kind of wishing you had hit that patent.
We'd love to have hit them. But you see, when you're playing in the game, when you got a business, you got to get used to seeing a lot of people hitting a lot of things that's not yours, and you just aim to get your share.
Right.
So you got to keep focused. I always found that if I tried to chase somebody else's idea, I never won. A lot of people are very good at fast following, at making it cheaper. IGT was a fast follower for bill acceptors. Sigma pioneered it. 3 years later, Sigma was dead. IGT fast followed. They owned the industry. IGT did not invent Tito. They accumulated the patents that did. They were a fast follower. They were a provider. But anytime I tried that, it's just not in my nature to do that well. I've got to do the thing from scratch and make that happen.
Stay in your own lane.
Yeah. Even though sometimes it takes 8-10 years for that idea to catch on. That's just, we all have our position, our lane, so to speak, as you said, and that's what you do.
It's on the bleeding edge. Yeah, that's
This is one of the coolest conversations we've had, and who would have thought?
That's it.
This pays for all our jobs. Everybody probably listening to this. This is
funded by Tito. Yeah, absolutely.
It's wild.
Well, to be clear, what pays for all of our jobs is the player.
Yeah, 100%.
Sure.
And we too often forget that, and I can't emphasize that enough. We have to give the player joy of some kind that makes it worth the amount of money they spent. The chance to win more than they spend is always an element, but they're almost never going to get that. And players are not fools.
Right.
They know what the score is. They're happy to come back again. They're happy. Complaining is part of the cycle.
Right.
But you've got to give them something. Right. And that's always the challenge. What do we give them? And what I've learned is that what we gave them 2 years ago can't be what we give them today. It's an always moving target. You got to refresh their hope, refresh their sense of entertainment, refresh their sense of importance.
This is a crazy time for us coming out of COVID, just because of how much players are being reconditioned, whether it be online gaming, sports betting, being back in the casino again for the full entertainment. And you nailed it a little while ago where you said creating a machine that both wins for the operator and the player is the most important thing. Whether they lose or the casino loses, both parties have to be happy and involved. So this is an awesome conversation.
Yeah. And
I'm curious what you're most excited about next. What is your next future tech that you're working on, and where do you see the industry going?
My primary excitement is always around pleasing the player.
Yep.
Sure.
But again, what we do today doesn't work the day after tomorrow. So there has to be change. What I'm really excited about is creating a modular platform that collects all possible data and reports it in real time and does it through a common API to where any third party or fourth party can use that information for the casino's benefit. Because right now, our technology is provided to the casinos, our casino management systems, as a monolithic device. It's like, well, if you buy this company's player tracking system, you're going to use their accounting, their loyalty, their this, their that, stack them up.
Right,
and those companies, for whatever reason, some of it's technology, some of it's a sense of business,
Sure.
they will not share the data that comes out of the machines, to the point to where the data that comes out of the machines doesn't even belong to the casino. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there that the casino can't have, which is kind of crazy. You know, I pay $3 million for a system. I tend to think I should own all the data, but that's not how it is. And when you peel back that onion a bit, you find out that a lot of that data was never collected. And that's because you go back 20, 30 years ago when I started player tracking, even when I did my later companies and reinvented player tracking, that a byte of data cost 20,000 times more to transport and store than it does now. So you had to make economic decisions then. What do I keep and what do I throw away? And when we defined player tracking back in the 80s and 90s, everything was revolved around direct mail. So what people really wanted player tracking to do was to measure everybody's wagers and let the casino rank them from top to bottom. Sure. And then they made arbitrary lines down the way. Above this number, you're a platinum player. Above this number, you're a gold player. Above this number, you're a silver player. Below this number, we don't care.
That's
right?
wild.
Yeah.
And then you do a mailer once a month that differed by the tier that you're mailing it to. And that was great in the 80s and the 90s. But with the expectations of players today from the phones, from Amazon, from Facebook, from Apple, and on and on and on, nobody wants to be a member of a tier anymore. They want to be individual, and they want to be rewarded in the moment. And that's our opportunity. If we recreate the technology on the floor, we can grab that information in the moment. We can determine which players are winning and which players are losing in the moment, because there is no point in giving a reward to someone that just won $1,000. If I throw you $10 after you hit 1,000, I might as well just throw the $10 in the trash. But if I throw you $10 when you're down to 2 credits left and you're going to have to leave, you're very appreciative of it.
I'm going to go, hey, that's a couple more spins. Yeah,
and so it's targeting those things and delivering them in real time that I'm really excited about. But even more than that, we get this foundation, as we call it, in place.
Yeah, foundations, yeah.
Now you can have a whole ecosystem of smart people like you guys that think of ways to please players, and now we give them the tools to put credits to the machine and to measure the player's experience and decide exactly when and how much and how that you're going to reward a bonus.
This is what you and I talk about all the time, and taking data and merging it with marketing to create a lifestyle brand. So you go into mailers, and then you went into print, and now you're into this lifestyle brand of how do we create more excitement using social media around the gaming business, which has been so taboo for so many years. And I hate even talking about it, because this is like our secret sauce, is what we're trying to do, is create, brands and let people know what's really going on and what's exciting.
I think that there's an opportunity to remove the word secret from the sauce.
Yeah.
Because the sauces are so hard to make, you don't need to keep them secret.
Yeah.
And when we try to keep a secret, we tend to not expose the idea and preach it far enough.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what we want to do, is create these open ideas. Your best way to protect your secret sauce is to get a patent and explain everybody else how it works.
Do it, because nobody else is going to take the time to
be
put
the faster mover, whatever you want to be.
Yeah.
But there's tremendous opportunity for richness of variety of how we entertain players, to help the casinos create a unique relationship with their players, to create a brand. that rises above the color of the carpet, that rises above the mix of slot machines they have on the floor, because they're all buying the carpet and the machines from the same place, right? But how do we make you feel respected, welcomed, and rewarded by visiting my property? How do I keep that relationship strong?
Yeah, it's fascinating. So you mentioned, at least in your mind, the secret to that, or not the secret, but the key would be the real-time element of
Absolutely.
it. To say like, hey, Landon didn't just win
the sauce.
He didn't with the
We
sauce.
don't need the
sauce.
secret, but that's
it's not
the
a secret.
sauce.
Open. It's Thousand Island, goddammit. It's but it's one of those where you say, he's here now. He's down to 2 spins on his game now. Now is the time when he needs the $20 or the $10 or whatever he's going to earn. So I'm assuming what you're saying is you can do that now, or is that, yeah. So that's interesting. And is that different than, I'm assuming technologically then that's different than, let's say, the prevailing systems that are out there, because obviously they would be doing it if they could.
Yes. Well, I did the very first design, sold that to IGT, started a company called Micon where we did another version of Progressive Jackpots. Then I started
Didn't even know it.
Sold that company, started another version called Acres Gaming, where we took, Acres Gaming was designed to take the player tracking system that we sold to IGT back in the early 80s and get rid of the lines at the player booth. Because what we were doing up until then is we were mailing offers to players. They would have to bring those offers in, go to the Players Club, and redeem them for a couple of rolls of quarters or dollars or whatever. And sometimes on a Friday or Saturday night, that line could be an hour, 2 hours long.
Queued up,
Nobody's spending money in the line. And you're spending money on employees to serve them at the end of the line. And then some people were taking that money and headed for the door. So what we created at Acres Gaming was the very first system that could cause credits to appear on the credit meter of a game without a win having occurred on the game. So we could take now and say, big. I'm going to give you $20 worth of free play. And we invented free play at Acres Gaming. The idea of here's some credits that you can have, you cannot cash out. And
I'm honored.
It's a little bit abused now, quite abused, but a player now could just take their card, go straight to their machine, insert it. There's their $20. You don't have to go to the club at all.
Interesting.
And that revolutionized the industry again.
So Micon, that was your company?
Yeah, Mike and John.
Okay, so question. Is it true that Micon owns the patent to Twin Win, the double symbols?
No.
The slot machine? Someone told me that Micon owned the patent to the double symbols on Twin Win.
I got to qualify that because I sold Micon early on, and then some other people took it and kind of ran it on the ground. I don't know.
Okay.
But I don't think so. I don't think
kind of a crazy question, but that's one of my favorite games.
My guess is no.
And they've never brought it back. So I'm like, if you're here and you have the patent, can we talk about creating a slot machine? Because
if Micon had the patent, I can just about guarantee it's expired now.
Hey, that's it. If you're listening right now and you're creating slot machines, double symbol, Twin Win, let's go.
Let's do it. Okay, so then the other thing I hear, so you mentioned foundations, and we just talked to a lot of people, and they're saying, look, in this cashless picture, it sounds like you have folks, the Sightlines and others they've solved, I want to say, the banking interface side of it, right? Where they're saying, hey, we can make the bank okay with this transaction. But what I keep hearing is that you guys have solved the last, call it 5 yards to the slot machine and to the table. So what are you guys doing with that? How did you figure that one out?
Well, we already had it figured out. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. Once we made the ability to add credits to the credit meter without having a win occur on the slot machine, well, you've got that pathway. Now you just have to add the credits. The problem that you've got is that the systems that casinos have right now are all old. The reason they're old and archaic is because back in the mid-1990s, technology companies like IGT and what is now Scientific Games, what was then Bally, started closing deals on new casinos by giving away or pricing very low the system.
Right.
So if you're opening a 2,000 machine casino and you buy 1,200 machines from me or more, I will give you the system for $500,000.
Right.
And they go, oh, that's great. Thank you. Well, guess what happened to the investment on the systems going forward from that? Once you start giving something away and the system is just a checkbox, there's no more development that happens on it.
Right. Interesting.
And so we saw this happen, the energy, the effort of evolution, of innovation that went into player tracking from like 1995 to 2005 was zero. Yeah, wow. Because there was no need. And a lot of new casinos were opening up. You won or you lost the system business on the day of opening, and it's really, really hard to get somebody to take out an existing system and put in a new one because it's so traumatic.
Pain in the butt, yeah.
So there was no need to, there's no business incentive to reinvest.
Right.
The problem is that at some point, that technology becomes so old, and the stuff on the floor right now is literally 25, 30 years old, which is crazy, that there's new opportunities. And the opportunity that we saw was that consumers, had a new expectation of immediacy. So and it's all because of Amazon.
Yeah,
right?
fair enough.
So back when in the 90s, you were happy to place an order and get it in a week or 2 weeks. Then Amazon come along and they're starting to do second, third days, same days, 2 hours, whatever. They really pushed the idea of immediacy, and they understood how important that was to consumers. Well, immediacy is one of the friction points that we've never removed for the loyalty experience for players.
Right.
There's tremendous opportunity to give that immediacy right now, as opposed to the end of the week or the end of the month.
Fascinating.
It would be such a bonus for a player if they're, because you say you lose $500 and you're down to your last $20, you're betting $5 a spin, and you're like, shoot, I have 4 left. Pops up and says, hey, Landon, you're awesome. Here's $50. And boom, you got 70. And you just feel it's just a good feeling. You're back in the game. You're in the action. And even if I lose that 70, which most likely will happen, I leave that property with a good experience. I leave it with like hey, they really took care of me. Yeah. Like I had another chance. They gave me another fighter's chance. They have my back. Boom.
Exactly.
Oh, but yeah, it's great.
You do the analogy of watching a sports event like a basketball game. If you go in and your team's winning by 30 points, it's not much fun. No. If you go in and your team's losing by 30 points, it's not much fun. If you go in and it's back and forth right to the end, that's when it really gets exciting. And the idea that you give a rescue reward to a player right at that last moment has emotional impact. And that's what we deliver is emotional impact. It's never about the size of the reward, the dollar amount. It's all about the emotional impact we create. And we have the opportunity to create a lot. Now, you talked about Sightline and Every. They do a great job of the regulated business called payment provider.
Right.
Yeah.
They take the money from the account to a digital wallet. Yeah. Now that money has to go from the digital wallet to the game's credit meter. And IGT, Scientific Games, Konami, Aristocrat.
Is that a protection feature? Like almost?
A protection feature?
Yeah, like almost like a responsible gaming type of protection
feature. It could be.
Yeah, but the wallet itself?
Yeah, skip that for a moment.
Okay.
We'll just talk about our technology. Yeah. They all have that ability to deliver, but it's very cumbersome for them to deliver it. And they have to interface it through their existing player tracking system. So now the experience is you take out your phone, you use Every to transfer your funds from bank account to wallet. Now you go and put your card in the machine and you punch a bunch of keys, and sometimes those keys are up high and sometimes they're down low and sometimes over to the side and hard to see. That's cumbersome. And then those companies, as part of their business plan, they want to charge a transaction fee for every cashless transfer that goes. They want a little cut of that money. We see our opportunity as 2 things. Number one, we provide a brand new technology that they can plug in that does not require the removal of their existing system. We can work right alongside it. So you can add these capabilities without threatening what you have.
It's huge.
Number 2, that everything happens on the mobile phone. Everything.
Yep.
So you take out your phone, you see your digital wallet, you hold your phone next to the machine for a half a second, and the money transfers. That's it. Boom. And you're done. Wow. You hold your phone again, and it comes back. We believe that player tracking screen that's on the machine has to be removed and put into the player's pocket.
Yeah.
Because that way the player, the loyalty interface follows the player home, follows them to the restaurant, follows them to the bathroom, wherever they're going.
Right. All, by the way,
this is wild.
Analyzing bonus in real time.
Yeah.
What's crazy about that?
Is this tied to AI?
I was going to ask you that. Is that how you're churning through all that data? Because there's no way with all the data you can actually analyze it.
Well, with Foundation, we provide 2 elements. We provide the ability to collect the data in real time, and we provide the ability to deliver credits immediately. Now you have to have the processing box, and this is where everybody's opportunity comes in. We are certainly building teams to create analytics that decide on the fly when somebody deserves a bonus and how much according to rules the casino sets. Other people will do that too. Yeah. And we're really excited about that. We love to see innovation coming from all corners. onto this.
Yeah,
Can you
that's
do
fascinating.
a historical bonus tracking? Because I feel like I have a lot of bonuses that I didn't get that I could retire, actually.
Plug them in from
They're like,
the
it just plugs in the system. All of a sudden, I'm rich.
I can't do that, but you could write a program that does.
Hey, look at this. Yeah,
figured
that
out
break
all
all the
the
banks.
cameras, you're good to go.
Casinos are like not having that.
Man. This has been awesome. It's exciting to see where
been
you're taking
unbelievable.
us, and
We've got to do another one
where
because
you've
I feel
taken us
like
so far. I
we've
know.
just touched the surface of what you've done. That we just went over your history. Now I want to go into, what you guys are doing in the future, because I feel like we could have a whole podcast. So in the spirit of gambling, we are a gaming podcast at the end of the day. And today we're a tech podcast because that was awesome.
yeah.
Do you have a gambling story that you could share with us? Doesn't have to be a big win, just a time you went out and it was a memorable story that you had a fun time.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm not a gambler.
Perfect.
And that's because when we had progressive jackpot systems, my first product, if you played and you hit that, you'd be in a lot of trouble because everybody would think that you rigged the whole thing.
Oh, for sure.
But my favorite gambling stories that I'm sure everybody's familiar with, I took my grandfather. He was in his late 80s and he came out to Las Vegas. And we went out to a Railroad Pass casino.
Yeah.
And he got a bucket of nickels and he didn't want to play. And it was like, my grandmother wanted to play. He didn't. He starts putting in the money. He hits for a $20 jackpot. All of a sudden, he wants to play.
He's in now.
Yeah, he's in.
Got him,
He's in.
man.
It's like, whoa, this is more fun than I thought. And then a couple of years later, we had our patent attorney, one of our patent attorneys, come down trying to understand our product. And he was talking about how stupid gambling was, and it's just a waste of money. And so I gave him $100 and said, let's just go play. And so he plays. He wins $500. He's at the casino the next night.
Yeah, he's like,
All of
I'm
a sudden,
in.
yeah, it's
Remember all that stuff I said? That was a joke.
the impact that a win has
Right.
is unbelievable, and especially if that winning event occurs early in the person's exposure to gambling.
Right.
It shows them that there's something at the end. And if you balance that, if we could deliver bonuses like that early on to create that excitement and make sure, the other thing that we have the responsibility for now is responsible gaming.
For sure.
It's not good for us or society to cause somebody to spend more than they can afford.
100%.
But we can build systems now that keep players in the sweet spot of a lot of entertainment, getting the majority of their recreational dollar and no more.
And it's good for the industry, right?
Good for the industry, good for
longevity
everybody.
going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's no different than going out to dinner. When you leave the restaurant, your money's gone, and all you have left is going to come out in a bad place tomorrow. But
I love it. I love this. I just love the visual of like what I presume is like a Hoosier 80-year-old from Indiana just going, I don't get it, these things are stupid. And then all of a sudden, 400 nickels, he's in the
Just
game, right?
kidding.
Yeah,
He's there.
$20, 400 nickels, let's do it.
he was there.
good.
He was there.
Oh, it's so
This has
good.
been awesome.
So this has been great. I really appreciate you coming by, and shout out to Noah for connecting us and getting this put together, so we could chat. So one thing we always say is we don't know everybody. We love talking to everybody, but we always ask for help. So we issue what's called the Max Bet Challenge. So who would you like us to talk to, or who do you think we should recommend, in a future episode?
2 people, if you haven't.
Sure, let's do it.
Charlie Lombardo
He's on the
Perfect.
list.
So he's coming by in a few weeks. That's perfect.
and Derek Stevens.
Derek, yeah, Derek would be awesome.
Derek is one of the new breed. I think that Derek offers the brightest hope for gambling that I've seen in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
He's an owner that is willing to invest, that cares about his players, that wants to always learn more and always do better.
That's fascinating. And we can see all of his casinos outside the window.
There you go.
So it's even better.
I'm looking at the
That's
circuit
it.
right
Yeah.
now.
How
And you
about
can
it?
head right over there now with $100 and give him some business.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
this
We
has
really
been great.
appreciate you coming on, and this has been a great story. And we're going to have you back on because it
It's been a lot of fun. Happy to
feels
come
like
back.
there's a lot more to talk
Yeah,
about.
that's it. Appreciate it. Thanks,
Cheers.
John.
Thank you.
Cheers.